Howdy y'all, this will be the Primitive Man lesson part 2 where we add color to our primitive man. So you can see mine is looking a little drab, he's all gray. We're going to spice him up and give him some color. So I already have everything labeled, I have my guy right here, and we're ready to get going. So what we're going to use for this is we're going to use something called the hypershade. Where you find it is in two different well, it's in the same spot. It's like the same thing, but you can find it in two different locations. So one is you'll see like this little blue olive or eyeball up here. You left click on it one time and it opens up the hypershade window. You can also hit this red X real quick and you can do Windows, rendering editors, hypershade. I'll tell you either way to get there, either the little blue olive or Windows menu, rendering editors, hypershade. They both take you to the same spot. This is where you can make materials. Materials are very important because they let you add color to things. So you have materials. You'll also hear me say textures, but textures are slightly different from materials. They're things you put onto materials to kind of give it like wood grain, brick patterns, pictures of things that you've taken, stuff like that. Materials are just the basic property that you apply to stuff. So one thing you can notice as I'm dragging this window around, you can see it turn transparent and I get that blue bar. If I let go, it docks this window. If you ever do this on accident, you just find the hypershade tab, left click and drag to pull it back out. Just want you to be aware of that because you are going to do it and you need to know how to fix it. So this is our hypershade. The hypershade is a bunch of other little windows put into a bigger window. And you can kind of tell right here with this little dotted line, you can see the browser window where we can detach it or close it. We have our material viewer, property editor. This is the node editor. And then you have create right here. So we can use these in conjunction to go through and make materials, assign them, and preview them. So the browser lets you look at stuff that you've created. There's a bunch of different tabs here that I'm just going to left click through so you can kind of see. Materials is the tab we want to stay on. You can see there's already default materials made, like this Lambert 1. We don't touch Lambert 1. We do not mess with Lambert 1. We leave it alone. So we're just going to leave Lambert 1 alone. And we're going to make our new Lambert. So what I like to do is I like to go to the top to my Hypershade menu. So you'll notice this has a menu up here. And it looks similar to the one in our overall Maya. But we want the Hypershade menu. And we're going to go about 4 from the right to the Create menu in Hypershade. We're going to go down to Materials, which is the top. And I'm going to make a Lambert. I'm going to do the same thing with Create Materials. So I made a Lambert. I'm going to make a Blend. And I'm going to hit Create Materials Phong. So these are the 3 main types of materials we're going to be using. You can kind of see them right here. They've been added in to our materials tab. So you can see I have a Blend 1, a Lambert 2, and a Phong 1. Each of these things do different stuff. So like a Lambert, it's your typical matte material. Phong to me is much more of like a plasticky material. Maybe even a little bit of ceramic. It's more like plasticky, ceramic-y. And then Blend to me is more like burnished aluminum. Like it could be a little bit more specular, a little bit more glossy, but it's more like burnished aluminum to me. You guys are welcome to use any combination of colors. Our goal is to add color to our primitive man and give him a shirt, a pants, maybe some shoes, and then a skin tone. That way he can get some service if he ever goes to a restaurant. So I've made 3. So I have pants, shirt, skin tone. I need some shoes. You don't have to add shoes. I want to add shoes. So I'm going to create another Phong. So create materials Phong. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to label it. So I'll go to Blend 1 for me. This could be any of your Lamberts that you make or whatever. And you can see on the right hand side, we now have stuff to work with. We have a material viewer, which previews what our material looks like. We have our property editor right here, which lets us edit the properties of our material. And this is where you kind of really go in and you can change colors, change names, which is very important. So I have blend one right here. I believe I wanted this to be a shirt. So I'm going to call this shirt. And I'm going to add an underscore here. And I'm going to add MTL for material. So I use MTL shorthand for material. You can also type matte for material, whichever you prefer. But you want to label it as some kind of material. You could even label it as a blend, so that way you know what it is. I just prefer material as a kind of a catch-all. So I have my material, and then I'm going to go down to all this common material properties, and the only one we really care about right now is color. You change color by left-clicking on this rectangular box. It opens up kind of the color stuff here. It has some starter colors for you to go through, a bunch of different shades. And then depending on how you like to do stuff, you can go down here to this little mixing space, change the hue, the saturation, and then the value. Or if you kind of like the one that Photoshop had in a slightly different format, you can go here and adjust it as well. So I'm going to give my guy a bright pink shirt, because why not? And then whenever you're done, you just move off, and it's changed the color. If you notice, this material preview up here changes in real time to reflect whatever we have selected. You'll see recent selections right here in these color swatches, so I'm just going to grab the one I previously had, and I think that looks pretty nice. You'll notice some other things down here that basically tell you what they are, like transparency. Makes your material transparent. Ambient color kind of adds a little bit of light to it. So does incandescence. Incandescence actually makes it glow for the purposes of the Maya rendering system. Diffuse just kind of tells you how much color is in there. Same thing with specular color, like what color are the highlights. I could probably make these like a fun baby blue to kind of give it an interesting color. And then just go through, mess with these different options and see what you can come up with. Like make some fun materials. So I made my shirt. So I'm going to go to my Lambert 2. I'm just going to call this skin MTL. And I'm going to make my guy look like he's from The Simpsons. So I'll just give a bright yellow. You'll notice the Lambert has a different material properties from the blend. So that's why it's important to understand what material you're kind of grabbing, is because those material properties are different and they do matter. I'll have Fong. I'll make this as pants. MTL. You hit return whenever you're done typing a name. So I have pink shirt. Let's give him... Yeah, let's give him like a lime green pair of pants. And since I was going to add a specular color, so let's add a yellow in there to make it really pop. Okay, so I got some pants. And then these are my shoes. MTL. And I'm just going to give him a pair of boring shoes. There we go. Yeah, there we go. All right. Yeah, just got a pair of boring leather shoes or boots or whatever I wanted to represent. It could be anything. And I got those. And then I have everything lined up, ready to go. Two things I didn't talk about here is this Create tab and this Node editor. So this Create tab right here, it does the same thing as the Create menu. It's just a much more visual format. You guys are welcome to use it if you want to. I'm almost never going to use it. You'll never see me use it in the videos. It's there. I don't use it. This node editor is pretty cool. So let me grab the pants. Just so you guys can see what it looks like. So this will kind of show, like, I made a bunch of stuff, so you can see a bunch of stuff on the node editor. We're not really going to mess with it in this class. I just want you to know it exists. And if you mess with it wrong, you can really mess up your stuff. So like if I delete this, I've just deleted my material. This could also be a pretty powerful tool. It really shows you a visual format about what your material is kind of plugging into and what inputs are plugging into it. So if you really want to kind of explore that, you can, but for the purposes of this class, we're not really going to use it. The only thing you really need to know about it is a tool. It could be very powerful, but it's also very dangerous in the sense it's very easy to mess up and ruin what you've made. So you're welcome to look at it, use it if you want to, but just be aware of the dangers associated with it. What I'm going to do is, since I have labeled everything that I'm using, you'll notice it kind of reorganized somewhat alphabetically, is I'm going to minimize my hypershade. Um, there are a couple different ways you are able to go through and add your materials to your primitive man. The most basic way is if I get my hypershade back. Here we are. I'm going to restore. As you can see, my hypershade, as I can kind of move it by grabbing this little bar at the top. So I can see my primitive man. So I'll pan over with Option middle mouse. Is like, let's say I want to give my character his pants. Is you use your middle mouse button to drag your pants material to where the pants are on your character. Now, as you guys can see, the drawback of this method is it takes a while. And depending on what you're assigning your material to, like if you have like 100 fence posts and you want them all to be your wood material, well, doing that 100 times isn't very conductive to having a good time. So there's a couple of different ways you can speed it up. You can hold shift to make a selection of objects, find the material in your hypershade, right click and hold. So all I did was right click my mouse down. It opens this radial or circular menu. And we just drag up to where we can see assign material to selection. And that just adds my material to the rest of my selection that I selected with shift left click. And that's a faster way of adding stuff. The other thing you can do, provided you name your stuff, and it's very important you name for this other method, is after you add your material, you can go through and let's say I'm going to give my character his shirt. So I'm going to hit Q for my selection so I don't run into that error. And I shift left click, so I hold shift and left click on each object I want to be part of my character's shirt. Is I can now right click and hold with my mouse. This opens a radial menu similar to what we saw before. We go to the very bottom where we can assign existing material. We will find our shirt MTL because we labeled it so we know what we're looking at. If you have like Lambert's 1 through 10 and then Thong 5 through 6, you're not going to know what you're looking at. It's very important you label it to use this method. And I'm holding right mouse button down the entire time. Is once you're done, once you have it highlighted, you let go, and it applies your material to the selection you had. So I'm going to do the same thing for my character's arms. So you can hold shift, left click and drag to add another selection. You can hold control, left click and drag to deselect stuff as well. So you can see that minus right there. I'm going to hold shift, grab my character's head, and then now I can right click and hold, assign existing material, skin. And then the same thing down here for his little feet. I'm going to left click and shift and left click, right click and hold, assign existing material, and then I'm going to add shoes. Yeah, I might want to redesign the shoes, but as you can see, now my character has color. You are welcome to do whatever colors you really want to do for your primitive man. I'm really interested to see the color combos you guys come up with. But that's how you make new materials. That's how you assign the materials to a character or an object, sorry, in your Maya scene. What I like to do as well is, since I made changes to my Maya scene, I'll hit Control S to save my scene. I can also do File, Save Scene, or if you haven't saved yet, File, Save Scene As. It's very important you guys save your scenes, because if you don't, and Maya crashes, which it will, by the way, it will crash, you're going to lose all your data. And then you have to do it all over again. But it's a good thing you did it once, because you can do it a second time. What you guys want to do is turn it in is just Windows key Shift S, take a screenshot of your finished primitive man. So you'll take a finished screenshot of him. You'll take a finished screenshot of your outliner. So I am going to do that real quick. You're not going to be able to see my screenshots, but I will add them as examples to the project. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great day.